Fitness is the backbone of what we do in the military, and especially the Army. And this is a general baseline of where you should be at all times. So this forced evaluation is a great way to determine which level of fitness you're at. So you can either increase your fitness or just maintain your fitness to be operationally ready.
Welcome back everyone, it's me Matt. I really appreciate you stopping by on today's video. We are discussing military fitness, specifically the Canadian Armed Forces fitness tests that are currently being pushed out to all units at all levels. Right now there is two forms of fitness tests within the Canadian Armed Forces, the Force Fitness Test and the Combat Force Fitness Test. Today's video is talking more about the Combat Force Fitness Test. I have previously done a video on the Force Test if you wish to go check that out. Now, I'm a reservist. I wish I was full-time. Unfortunately, my life does not allow me to dictate to transfer into the full-time Reg Force. I would absolutely love to. My British Army career challenged me in its own fitness tests, but the Canadian Armed Forces fitness tests are changing a little bit. And today we are talking about the Combat Force Fitness Test, specifically because I think a lot of people that haven't done it before aren't fully aware of exactly what it is. Now, Battle PT, as it's known in the British Army, or in any army really, is where my heart lies. I absolutely love RUCK marching. There's actually a fantastic Facebook group right now called CAF, RUCK marching group. Really cool. I'll leave in the description box below, but it's sort of setting off a bit of a trend right now for everybody getting out and doing RUCK marches, and it's good because this Force Fitness Test that's coming, this Combat Force Fitness Test, if you haven't done it already, will definitely challenge you a little bit if you're not used to kind of PT styling of this kind. Now, I'm going to share a couple of videos with you today to give you a bit of an overview as exactly what the Force Combat Test is, so you can understand, you know, the way in which it runs, the kind of things you're going to have to do, and most importantly, what you have to do to prepare for this test. Folks, if you're not used to this kind of PT, you will have a bit of a struggle if you're not prepared for it. I would strongly encourage you to start preparing yourself for these tests. I know my local unit, as a reservist, I will be getting given this test as soon as we get back, and you don't want to be leaving it to the last minute because you will have a hard time if you're not used to doing this thing. If you're very fit and up with your PT, you're probably going to be okay. But even then, I've known many people back in my British Army career that could run, miles and miles on end with no problems in runners and shorts and t-shirt. You put a RUCK on their back or give them, FFO or full fighting order, then they're going to have a real hard time. And I've seen it many times before. So don't be like that. Get ahead of the game. Get practicing, learn a little bit from this video. This video is definitely not endorsed by the Canadian Armed Forces. I'm not representing, the educational purposes of this. It's purely informative. I'm just giving you an idea. So the Canadian Army hasn't told me to make this. I'm just doing it kind of as an informative source so that you guys can start preparing and looking into it if you're already serving or are about to serve. So let's take a look at it.
Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Start that bag on the left. Two-hand grasp, up the line and down. Shuffle over, just like the force test on weighted.
What the force combat is it's a physical evaluation to replace the load-bearing march, which was the previous individual battle task standard that the Army was incorporated into the training.
All right, so the first part of the test, you'll go out and do your 5-kilometer load-bearing march. All right, you have in between 50 minutes and 60 minutes to complete the test. You need to come in after that 50-minute time and obviously before the 60-minute time. Once you're done the test, you'll come in. I'll have Sergeant Wiseman take your score. At that time, an assessor will come grab each of you and say, okay, you have 5 minutes. At that time, you can take your helmet off, have a quick drink of water, take your your small pack off at that time, and then once the 5 minutes is up, we'll carry on into part 2 of the test.
The guys and gals will be going out and doing a 5-kilometer march with 25 kgs fighting order, an additional 10 in the small pack. Then they'll return back here, have a break, and then they'll start the force evaluation, keeping the 25 kg fighting order on.
3, 2, 1, up, go.
Something like 80-90% of any type of combat mission takes place in an urban environment, which requires different demands on the body. So it requires more of an anaerobic type metabolism as opposed to a long aerobic type activity. So we developed a generic urban operations simulation and we measured the physiological demands. And from that, we modified force with the load that you would wear in fighting order that accurately reflects the physiological demand of doing and performing in urban operations.
We didn't make up any equipment, we didn't add on any weight, we gave them the basic loads of what you're stepping off the helicopter with or what you're stepping out of the APC with, the Armored Personnel Carriers. The equipment we wear during this evaluation is what we'd be using at all times anyways, so nothing's made up. So this, as far as I'm concerned, is probably one of the best evaluations to test your minimum standard of physical fitness in the last 30 years.
For the force combat, there's no different standards based on age or gender. It's required to be taken by any Canadian Armed Forces personnel posted to a land duty allowance unit, instructors in the Canadian Army schools, and anyone in a level 3 or below headquarters.
La partie la plus difficile de l'examen que j'ai trouvé, c'est la levée des 30 sacs. Ça demande une bonne position pour le dos. Durant l'examen, je conseillerais de prendre des grandes respirations, prendre le temps. Je conseille que tout le monde ait la chance d'effectuer une pratique pour se mettre en confiance avec les différentes étapes, puis savoir quelles sont les prochaines étapes.
My advice would be to not be afraid of it. If you plan and you train and you prepare yourself for this test and you work on your upper body strength, you will have no concern. Just pace yourself and put yourself in the right mindset that the test is achievable and you'll have no trouble.
Soldiers that complete the force combat, they will still have to complete the force evaluation on an annual basis, which will have them meet universality of service for the Canadian Armed Forces.
Fitness is the backbone of what we do in the military, and especially the Army. And this is a general baseline of where you should be at all times. So this forced evaluation is a great way to determine which level of fitness you're at. So you can either increase your fitness or just maintain your fitness to be operationally ready.
Force Combat is the new Army IBTS fitness objective and is intended to be administered by the unit chain of command. The 5-kilometer load-bearing march, alongside force as a circuit, is collectively referred to as Force Combat and will provide the Canadian Army with an invaluable resource to assist members in preparing for combat operations. Physiological data collected by Human Performance Research and Development indicates that a force evaluation, performed with a load and as a circuit, without the mandated 5-minute rest periods between test items, will elicit metabolic demands similar to those experienced during combat and/or urban operations. There are 2 loads for force combat: battle order, with a total of 35 kilograms for the march, and fighting order, with a total of 25 kilograms for the force circuit. It is important to ensure that the participants are loaded correctly. Our trials of over 100 Canadian Army members indicate that 9 out of 10 participants will come improperly loaded, usually 3 to 4 kilograms under, for full fighting order and bag weight. Before beginning, weigh the soldier without any CAD pad, boots, or equipment. Then add their CAD pad, boots, helmet, tack vest, and weapon. This should total 25 kilograms. If it's not, add supplemental weight to the tack vest. Next, weigh the day bag. This should weigh a total of 10 kilograms inclusive of the bag. When the weigh-in is complete, the soldier starts a 5-kilometer march at a pace between 50 to 60 minutes, no faster or slower, with weapon in hand and their day bag worn. It's important to consider environmental conditions. At temperatures above the heat stress advisory, you should not attempt force combat. It is recommended that you perform force combat in the early morning to avoid hot, humid temperatures which could lead to heat stress or heat illness. Participants should also be allowed to drink freely throughout the march. Once the march is complete, the participant returns to the field house and removes their day bag. They are given a total of 5 minutes rest between the march and the start of the force circuit. At the end of the 5 minutes, they should be in the prone position on the floor at the start of the rushes line. The rushes are performed differently than we saw in the force evaluation. To reflect more operational relevance, the weapon is carried at low ready in the hands, and when the participant reaches the line, they will go down so that the chest touches the ground and will aim downrange while maintaining positive control of the weapon. We are less concerned with details, such as specifically touching the line, and they do not have to lift their hands at the line. It is important to understand that the minimum timings for force are not applicable to force combat. The test is a continuous activity with 25 kilograms, and the participants should pace themselves for approximately 10 to 15 minutes of high-intensity whole-body exercise. Before starting the sandbag lift, the participant will sling their weapon and should exercise precaution to lift with as much care as possible and not sacrifice safe lifting techniques in favor of speed. During the intermittent loaded shuttle, the weapon is still slung, and attention to proper lifting technique is important. As with the force evaluation, we end with the drag. DFIT Human Performance Research and Development has performed multiple research trials to determine the aerobic demands of force combat and how well it represents performance in a generic urban ops simulation designed by the Canadian Army. The loads are predetermined by the Canadian Army and represent the minimum loads of fighting order and battle order for the lightest CAD-PAT and minimum amount of ammo and water. Our research trials in Petawawa demonstrated that you should attempt the circuit a few times to learn the test, and that by the fourth attempt, performance stabilizes. For proper progressive training on Army operations, including force combat, visit dfit.ca.
So, there you have it, folks. Something a little different, especially if you've never done a PT test like this before. For me, I'm pretty used to this kind of training. I'm sure many have already done this test already watching this video, or maybe you're just about to and you've already done a lot of preparation for it. But this is really a video for those who know nothing about the force combat test. And I want to make sure that those who are not aware, who are not prepared for it, have the ability to understand exactly what they're being asked to do. It's not a hard test, folks. It's really not that difficult. You've got to remember that this is a minimum fitness standard, minimum, which means you are required by your job to complete it and pass it. It's not something that's being asked extra of you. This is something you're expected to do. It is your job if you are signed up to do it, and you should be always aiming for the highest standard, not the minimum standard. If you're aiming for the minimum standard, you're setting yourself up for your own problems, especially if you're going to deploy. The number of times I've seen people say, oh, I'm just going to get the tick in the box and a pass, and it comes to going on heavy-duty exercises or even operational deployments and having real struggles. I've seen it firsthand. It's not enjoyable to see and to experience, because you rely upon your friends, your buddies, those in your job role to help support you. So if they're aiming for the bottom level of standard fitness, then it's not the greatest. So please, folks, I encourage you, find this time now if you are going to get pushed into doing this test, to get your fitness up, get it up and ready. You don't want to be, going to this test unprepared. Trust me, even if your fitness is a very high standard, it's always worth just doing a little bit extra. Get your ruck on, do some ruck marches, low time. There's hundreds of videos out there, including my own, that will give you a little bit of advice, that will give you some support in, learning how to ruck march and all that good stuff. But, I know this is really kind of beating a dead horse here, but please, folks, prepare for it. Go into it headstrong. It's not all about being physically prepared, it's all about mentally prepared too. I wouldn't also get cocky, okay, because I've seen that happen before too. People who think, they're going to kill the test and own it, they push way too hard either at the beginning, in the middle, or whatever, and then they just struggle towards the end, and they're not hitting their goals that they want to. I actually really like this test. I think it's a fantastic way of demonstrating how fitness should be in the armed forces. At the end of the day, we don't do what we do, our job, for the most part, in shorts, t-shirt, and runners. We do it with a rifle in our hand, packs on our backs, all that good stuff. So this is really good. It's adaptive to your role and your job, and if we cannot pass this, then it's a good telltale sign to say, get out there and get your fitness up. I'm not preaching to the choir. I'm not saying I'm the most fittest soldier in the world. Absolutely no way. Hitting my mid-30s here. I'm certainly not 19 anymore, and it's definitely feeling a lot harder for me to get into the fitness routine, especially with my lifestyle. But I have absolutely no excuse. I can't make excuses up. That's not the way to go. We really do need to just, toe the line, get on there, get practicing, get your upper body strength going, get your rucks on, do some PT, and kill this test. Own it, because that's what we're designed to do in the Army. We're here to win and complete this test 100% without having any issues. If you need any advice or support on this test, you want to get some information on fitness or that good stuff, I would strongly encourage you to speak to your chain of command or, your recruiter if you're about to go into the Canadian Armed Forces. And again, the greatest source of information for this kind of testing or support is DFIT, Defense Fitness. They are the ones that are going to give you a lot of advice. The PSP group have tons of training programs and plans that can help you out. And if you don't know what to do from there, then again, just reach out to me and I'll try and point you in the right direction. direction. I appreciate you all stopping by on the video today, folks. If you did enjoy, please leave me a like and a comment. Feel free to check out my Facebook and other links in the description box below. I'll see you on the next one. All the best. Bye-bye.